Thank you very much. My question is, if design is relevant at all today. Good morning. I would like to take you with me to a journey and try to make you imagining a situation or put yourself into a situation which I found myself in a few years ago and which changed my perspective about design 180 degrees. This is Sandra. Sandra is a mother of two. She lives in El Salvador. She's an ice cream maker. She makes 80 ice creams a day, and she gains $8. In the weekend, she sells double of that, and she can pay for her utility bills. Sandra is the owner of a terrain in El Salvador, in which there is a house. And this house is basically made simply with reusing materials, zinc, bricks, and wood. And in this house, she has two rooms. The largest one, is used for living and for sleeping and working. And the other one, the little one, is used for living and eating and interact with her children. Sandra has a backyard, a possibility of expansion of her house. And her backyard has a latrine and simple services. Please remember that Sandra doesn't have sewage in her house, and she uses water through an outlet, which is it's 10 meters away from her house. And she collects water saltuarily to wash herself and to bath and to, well, you know what it's used for. Sandra built her house through an association. It is called Auto Construction, and they help you. Basically, they help you build in the first meter of your house, for which they support you, they finance you in doing that. The rest is up to you and your neighborhood, if you have any, and if you have a social cohesion within the community. And she was able to build this. She has a loan. It's a 10 years long loan, and she's paying it right now. Sandra's kids go to school. One goes to primary school. The second one goes to secondary school. The secondary school is not present in the neighborhood which she lives, so the daughter, who's 12, needs to pay $1 to go to the school and come back. School is really important because Sandra happens to live in a neighborhood with two gangs members operating and very violent, and they tend to engage with youngsters because they are usually the easiest to be engaged for a little money, and because their penalties, if being caught, are really little. So in my opinion, Sandra thinks big when she buys a land that can be extended, possibly, when her family grows, when she tries to generate an economy for herself, and when she tries to educate her children, despite the $1 back and forth. I am a designer, and a few years ago, I started re-questioning my position, whether indeed design was important at all, and to whom was it important. Obviously, it was important for me a couple of years ago because I really enjoyed my buildings, or the buildings I was working for, being published everywhere. But the reality of things is that my curiosity pushed me to the edge of design and wanted me to explore further. And I was terribly curious about understanding what was making Sandra so intriguing and so interesting to me. So I started exploring her. And what I discovered was that there was no profit at all coming out from Sandra. However, with my super dedicated team, which I thank dearly, we spent our evenings, our weekends in trying to brainstorm the basic elements of architecture. So conventional architecture elements, things that come to you every time you have a client and the brief comes in. We started to bisection them, looking at them, trying to manipulate them, and spending a lot of energy in talking about simple questions like economy, design, identity, social issues, place. This is a strategy. I think it's a well-known strategy. It's called mental map. And you do it for any kind of disciplines. In this case, we used it for understanding the issues of design. And basically what it led to was a strategy for master planning in developing countries. At the end of the day, this method wanted to transfer our knowledge to somebody else. I will try to explain you what I mean by this. This is a chart that we had created in my office, simple for the sake of trying to brainstorm on things. Like, for instance, individual, which is so there to all of us. Individual is a person. How can a person function? A person can function through health and happiness. What does happiness bring? How is happiness brought to a person? Through jobs, to good weather, good food, and so on and so forth. This is a very simple, but yet complicated, and it could go on forever. Until, of course, one day, a client came up to us, a very open-minded client, a supervisionaire, and they decided to try to give us a try, on this site in particular. We're in El Salvador. It is a fairly difficult site, and we didn't know it yet, but there have been already different designers trying to design something on this site, something meaning housing for people that needed to be removed from dangerous sites or leftover parts of the society because of vulnerability of the geography. So they asked us to do something on this site. There was no brief, so it was the perfect opportunity for us to implement this game, which we called the Urban Toolbox. The first thing that we did when we arrived was a full immersion with people, with the locals, and with the local designers as well. And yes, at the beginning, we felt very uncomfortable because we came there with our trolleys, with our bag full of knowledge, while they were just asking a simple question as, how can I protect my crop during the raining season? Where do I put my pigs? Pigs. So what we started doing was trying to understand the place initially. What is the place all about? We went to the site and we understood that everything that could be going wrong was happening. They were using this site to protect people from disaster areas, meaning high floodage. So in El Salvador, in Central America, it happens that 3 months out of 12, it rains. And when it rains, there is no capacity for the infrastructure to sustain all this rain, and the rain flushes away houses. This was the perfect location, allowing houses to be flooded away, just because it was steep, it was on the top of a hill. So the location was extremely difficult. We found ourselves in the middle of 2 gangs. They're called the La 18 and the 13. And they are gangs that smuggle drugs. And the site is totally isolated from the urban area. So we are not in a city area, we're not inside a village, but we are outside, isolated. So what can we do in this situation? Well, first of all, we try to bring connectivities between the site and the urban area around it. We try to engage with the gangs instead of excluding them and thinking of them as dangerous. And we try to take advantage of the geography of the land instead of being scared about it. These people are going to be removed from a situation of danger, and they are going to be placed in a so-called paradise. The situation that we find ourselves in is not a paradise, so we need to reinforce the infrastructure in order to profit from the rain falling down from the sky instead of allowing the rain to wash away the entire village. The second operation that we did is trying to understand the society that is going to be moving in the neighborhood. I would like to inform you that the families that are going to move in this site are it's about 1,000 families for 210 houses, so it's a mega project indeed. And the families are usually single mothers with children, with possibly extension of grandparents and siblings. What does this mean? For us, maybe nothing, but for Sandra, it means a lot. She has 1 house with 1 room, and in that room, everybody needs to sleep. She needs to also work, and she also needs to entertain her children. As designers, what we can do is create flexible spaces that can be used both as living and as well as sleeping and working. So that's what we try to do. In terms of identity, the community that will be moving inside our site is totally heterogeneous. There are people that come from different sites ourselves. They don't know each other. So it's really extremely important for them to try to unify and become a community. Only in a community you can support and sustain yourself. One of the tools to create a community could be, for instance, to make them build in their own houses together and create public spaces together. Economy is a big issue. Generate jobs for these people. It's like not just put them in a site, provide for accommodation for them, and just let them live there. They will just become parasite and wait for the first subsidy coming around. They need to generate economy for themselves, but they need also to be helped to generate economy. One of the skills that we can give to them is, for instance, talking and exchange information and let them understand how to build a house, how to build frames, and let them build in their house and let them build their frame. Or just motivate them and incentivize their skills as, for instance, traders. They're very good in trading drugs. Environment. I will not bore you with the usual suspect, which is, of course, the change, which, however, has a great impact in the traditional way in which they live. For instance, the woman that is fetching wood for her traditional cooking might also be pointed out as the cause for deforestation, but she does need that wood to cook. Other issues about environment, they can be on the negative side. Let's look at the positive side. Environment can be extremely powerful if harvested well. We have been thinking about the orientation of the houses to fetch the sun, or the big cisterns to get the water, or to orient it nicely so that they can be capturing the prevailing winds. Not to forget, of course, about the employment of waste. It's really important that we do take advantage of everything that we can fetch, we can find around, and reuse it somehow. Technology. Technology is, just like my colleague just explained, it's full of information. There is a lot of information everywhere, and it's up to us to select the right information to donate to them. Like the application of low-tech technology, it's extremely important. Like, try to teach them how to do things that they can do. Talking about modularity is really important, and replicability is also extremely important. You teach them how to build a modular, and they can replicate and replicate until they learn it, they get it, and they can build something for themselves. Participation, going back to the usual suspect, this is very important. You need to talk to them, understanding what they can do for you and what you can do for them. It's like a two-directional conversation. You talk as a technician, and you receive local inputs. It's really interesting, because at the end of the day, what happened to us when we were there, it was a big workshop. We arrived, we gave lectures, very abstract lectures. Nobody understood anything. At the end of the workshop, after the 7 days, it was very interesting. They were giving us lectures, and they were teaching us how to do things. Design. I'm not going to show you anything that I've done today, because that is not important. What is important is the conversation that we entertain together with them, and the fact that I was the technician at first, and I taught them the know-how, and they just apprehend. They took it over, and they transform it into something that can use, they can maintain, and they can manage. Because at the end of the day, we have to remember that we are there to leave. We're not there to stay, and they need to take our knowledge and use it for their own benefit and for their own community. Well, the biggest satisfaction is that our toolbox gets unfolded, all our knowledge gets laid on the plate and gets understood. Everybody understands how it works, everybody can start playing with it, and they can really start managing it and mastering it. The development driven by the locals is sustainable, and it's reinforced the living and the living conditions for them. Now, I would like to conclude with this slide, and I would like you to read it, and I will assist you in reading the second part of the slide. 90% of our cities is informally designed by their inhabitants without the help of planner or designers. My question is the urban designer an outdated figure? Well, I came to the conclusion that it is in many ways, but in many other ways is not. It is for the 10% of the population of this world. It is outdated. The way we have done it is passé. But for the 90%, it's not. And it's really important, in my opinion, to embrace this 90% and make their life worthwhile. And this is my big thinking. Thank you.
Cristina.